More with Terri and Chris of LumaTouch. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Clear. Get to the front of the line faster, safer, touchless. Get 2 months of Clear free at clearme.com/MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Headspace. Meditation made simple. Visit headspace.com/MacVoices for a free 1-month trial. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. This is part 2 in a 2-part conversation with Terri and Chris of LumaTouch about LumaFusion, the definitive application for editing video on your iPad and iPhone. In part 1, we saw a demo of some of the new multicam capabilities and some of the upcoming director's packs that will add features to LumaFusion. This time around, we get into the audio capabilities of LumaFusion, and also Terri and Chris address the question of Final Cut Pro coming to the iPad Pro and what it might mean for the future of LumaFusion. So let's get right back to it with Terri and Chris. There's nothing I have to do if I'm editing in Final Cut on a Mac with an external drive, except that I open the project from there and go. Is there anything special other than just the ability to do it about editing from an external drive?
With the new version, no. With our existing version, whenever you'd select a file from an external drive and drag it to the timeline, we'd actually copy it to internal storage so that we have enough performance to play it back. But Apple's been improving that performance, and now we'll take advantage of the fact that it will be just like the Mac, where you'll just plug in the drive. There's one extra step on iPad OS where you have to select the folder to use in LumaFusion. It's one of those permission things that's very different in iOS. Well, not that much different anymore. Mac OS has added a lot of those same kind of things. But once you get a permission, now you'll just be able to drag clips directly to the timeline, and they'll just be ready to edit without any copying, and they'll just edit directly from the external drive. Of course, when you reopen that project, if you don't have that drive attached, we'll put up a warning saying, hey, that media is not available. And so you'll have to plug in the drive, to be able to play it back. But even I think a bigger use for our users is when they want to archive off their projects or create a movie, if they're low on storage, that's been an issue in the past, and they've had to try to find ways to free up storage to be able to export their movie because it required the internal storage to do that. And now with the new version, you'll be able to plug in the drive and say, export to that drive, and it won't use any additional storage to do that while it's exporting. That's it's a thing people expect on the desktop, but it's a very new thing on mobile, and it definitely opens up a whole new world of being able to edit and not worry so much about the storage on your device.
So interesting that you bring that up, Chris, because I think that there are a lot of folks out there, me included, who are getting ready to order a new iPad, and we're struggling with the idea of how much storage should we buy. I know from past experience that just shooting video with an iPad sucks up an amazing amount of storage. To be able to use that and edit it, it's great. We have the external option now, but do you all have any recommendations other than just say buy as much as you can afford?
Right.
Is there an optimum you think, or a minimum configuration that would be beneficial?
Yeah, my gut feeling is for most users, I would still recommend to at least do, if you can, 1 terabyte. Now they're doing 2 terabytes available, and depending on your workflow, if you've got media coming from a lot of different sources, including iPhones and the device itself, then I would recommend getting the most storage you can, going for the 2 terabytes, even though that's a fairly expensive option, of course. For most users, however, I think 1 terabyte is probably plenty, especially with the external storage capabilities. And, if you're not doing quite as massive a workload, then, I would say 256, well, I would say 512 gig, if you can go for it, would be reasonable to work with, especially on, say, the new iPad Air would be a good option for you.
Yeah. I think there's some workflow things you can do to reduce usage, like don't take long clips unless you have to, unless it's an event that needs to be in one recording, because it limits how you can manage your media. Maybe you use 1 second of that, 1 hour clip, then you've got to keep that whole 1 hour clip around. So just planning ahead and thinking, okay, what do I really, when can I really turn off the camera here? Let's turn it off and start a new clip instead of just letting it roll.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that aspect of it, Terry. That's a really good point. That would be better to have two clips with a small break in between than just one long constant clip.
Yeah, because you may not use even both parts of it. So then you can just get rid of the other one.
Yeah.
And exactly. I think LumaFusion makes it pretty easy to, just clean up what you haven't used. So you just can, see what's used. You can go into the settings and say, delete unused cached media and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. It's something we haven't, depending on which Mac you've had and how it's configured, we haven't had to worry too much about some of those things. But when you start talking about the iOS devices, you have a whole different kind of media management or just file management. And, this, unfortunately, not everyone's going to dedicate their iPad Pro just to LumaFusion. It's, they're going to be doing other things with it, probably keep, a few movies on it for the plane and, do email. And also, you're making the case very quickly for a whole lot more capacity if you're going to do this seriously.
Yeah. It's always good to put your money into getting as much storage as you can. And I would actually, prioritize that over the higher end processor in some cases, depending on the user type. If you're on a budget, I would say do the new iPad Air with more storage versus an iPad Pro with less storage would probably be a better option, because the difference in performance isn't so great, that it would make a difference. Now, the new iPad Pro, one of the other things I hadn't talked about yet that it has is the new display, and that, if you're doing HDR, is a big deal. And so in that case, I would say prioritize that. If your workflow is an HDR workflow and you're all about the color, the color correction and making everything look as beautiful as possible and being able to see it on your display, then I would say the new iPad Pro you should be shooting for in that case.
Thanks for helping me spend money, Chris.
Yeah, I'm always kidding. Yeah, we have to do that too. So
yeah. When somebody asks me, but Chris said, so blame him.
But we're saving so much money by not going out to eat all the time.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go. Yeah. Hot dogs and beans. There you go, Terry. That's
and of course, LumaFusion at only $29 offsets a lot of the cost of the hardware there for you too.
Well, that's no small thing. I mean, and we always get to that. We have to. I mean, this is a $29 program. Now, what do the director's packs go for?
Those aren't priced yet, but when we do price them, we have to take into consideration that these things, we've been working on these things for a year. So these are not small things. We just throw them in. So, we have to keep our team alive and keep going and keep developing. So we'll price them, that's my job to look at that and see what it is. We'll get some feedback and so on.
I think they'll be very reasonably priced, compared to what the features would be on the desktop. And, we're doing this also to keep in mind to avoid doing a subscription, in the app, which, make it a lot easier for us. But we realize that, there's a lot of users who don't like that. So our goal is to try to give the users an incredibly powerful app, with the $29 they spend up front, and then allow them to choose what features they want and pay once for those features, and not have to keep paying over and over again to keep those features alive. So we're trying to find the best balance of this for everybody.
Yeah. And I mean, every time this topic comes up, I scold people for, stop apologizing, because you're right. This represents a huge amount of work, and not just, somebody sitting down on Saturday afternoon either. And so, you deserve to get paid. You deserve, and I want you to stay in business and make money so that you can continue to enhance the product. And anybody that doesn't, I'm sorry, but anybody that doesn't see it that way is really being very short-sighted. Great. You give me a super app that I can do a whole lot with at the base level. But if I want to do these other enhanced things, by all means, I should be paying for it. So and price it as it needs to be.
I think the funny thing is things have changed since you have had to pay maybe a year's salary to get an editing system. Like when I started, it was more than I could afford to get an editing system. And, now you can choose to have more than one app on your iPad or your iPhone because they are reasonably priced. And that's why we're staying non-subscription, because we want to be able to say, hey, when you need LumaFusion, it's a reasonable price, you can use it. And we don't feel like, I know the question is going to come up about Final Cut and whether that's coming to the iPad. And it's fine if it does. I mean, you can afford LumaFusion and another app. And there are always good things about other apps as well. Like, we're not saying LumaFusion is the best app in every workflow and every situation, but it's really, really great for the workflows that people use it for. And there will be times when you use other apps. I mean, we love it when we see how people have used Procreate or another app to kind of integrate with LumaFusion. That it's great, and I don't see that there's any problem with having Apple Final Cut on iPad as well.
Okay, you took us there, Terri, because I was not going to do it until later. But that's the question that has come up a number of times on MacVoices and along with everywhere else, is the compatibility, the round tripping, or the transferability of a project from or to Final Cut, from or to LumaFusion. So where does that stand right now, and what is involved in making that transfer?
Right. So we have a feature, was our first paid in-app feature, and it's $10 for Final Cut Pro XML export. And so you can start any project you want in LumaFusion. And if you find you can't finish it there, you need some plugin that you have on your desktop in Final Cut or some other feature that we don't currently have, you can export your project as a Final Cut Pro XML, bring it right into Final Cut, and we transfer any media as part of a package with that. So that's really easy. It's very painless to take any project and move it over to Final Cut and do your finishing there. And so, we've tried to open up that mobile workflow and make that available when people do need the desktop app. So, going the other way, we don't currently have that, possible. It's something we might do in the future, but we don't see a real need for that at this point. The workflow isn't the kind of thing where people are going to go back and forth quite as much. Usually it is the case where you're either going to edit entirely on LumaFusion and finish there, or you may want to go to the desktop to finish up if you need something there. And going back to, the rumors about Final Cut coming to iPad Pro, a lot of that comes from the fact that it's the M1 processor in there, and that's a big splash that Apple made, but really the M1 is just a big upgrade, but it's still an upgrade from the previous generation processor. Really, the previous generation processor, the 13, whatever it is, that's in the current iPad Pro, is more than powerful enough to run Final Cut Pro even as it is. It was a very powerful processor. The bigger difference is what's the experience that Apple wants to bring to the iPad. And I'll be really surprised if it's, let's dump Final Cut Pro onto the iPad, or let's let Mac OS apps run on the iPad. That hasn't been where they want to go. The iPad is a different experience than the desktop. And they may come out with something, but I'd be surprised if it's what people expect. It's going to be, in my mind, it would be something that is a companion to running on the desktop, something that would enable more workflows. And I think whatever they do come out with, as Terri said, will be another tool in the toolbox, and people will find some things work better on LumaFusion. Our new multicam is such a beautiful experience compared to multicam on desktop editing apps that I think people will still choose to use it no matter what's out there. And we think there'll be a lot of fun new workflows, between all of these different apps that come out.
Okay. I hope that is a definitive answer for folks who are asking those questions.
Right. It probably is.
Well, yeah, there's always somebody
talk about it forever now.
yeah, but it's a very real thing, and people are concerned about it, and I get it, but I do think sometimes people have unrealistic expectations. This MacVoices is supported by Queer. Get to the front of the line faster, safer, and touchless. I don't know if the next time I head to the airport will be for business or pleasure, but whatever the reason, I want to spend as little time in the security line as possible. That's why I have Clear. Clear lets you get to the head of the line faster by using only your face and your eyes as your identification. No juggling your carry-on luggage to try to get to your driver's license. No getting that look from the security officer. With Clear, they know who you are, that you are cleared, and that you can move on with no hassles. And if you have TSA Pre, Clear works great with that as well, making your trip even faster. And you don't just get that experience at the airport. Clear is also at stadiums, concert halls, and more, all with the same great touchless experience. Traveling with the family? Clear members can add up to 3 friends or family members to their account for a discounted rate. Even better, kids under 18 can tag along for free. Clear is the absolute best way to help you get back to what you love. They have locations in over 35 airports across the country, making it safer, easier, and faster to reunite with loved ones or take that much-needed vacation. And as I said, Clear works great with PreCheck too. And right now, for a limited time, you can get your first 2 months of Clear for free. Go to clearme.com/MacVoices and use the code MacVoices. That's Clear, CLEAR, me.com/MacVoices and the code MacVoices for your first 2 months of Clear for free. clearme.com/MacVoices and the code MacVoices. Thanks to Clear for their support of MacVoices. Today's MacVoices is supported by Headspace. Headspace is meditation made simple. Have you tried meditation as a way to help you get through the tough times? To help you enjoy the good times? To turn the tough times into good times? If not, then you really need to try Headspace. Headspace is meditation made simple. Their guided meditations can address everything from improving focus to improving your sleep to just making it through the day. Morning meditations, evening meditations, and everything in between. My Headspace experience has been excellent because there are no mantras to learn, no rules to abide by. Just simple, direct explanations of what I need to do and how to do it. And I'm not alone. Headspace has over 60 million downloads and over 600,000 5-star reviews. That means Headspace is doing something really right, and they can help you achieve your objectives, whatever they are too. You deserve to feel happier, and Headspace is meditation made simple, and more. Go to headspace.com/MacVoices. That's headspace.com/MacVoices for a free 1-month trial with access to Headspace's full library of meditations for every situation. That's the best deal offered right now, so head over to headspace.com/MacVoices today. Thanks to Headspace for their support of MacVoices. Speaking of unrealistic expectations, the second most asked question is, if we can run iOS apps now on an M1, how does LumaFusion run on a MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, Mac Mini? Is that capable? Is it capable? Is it a viable experience? Any thoughts or comments on that?
I'll take that. We already allow the LumaFusion, the iPad version of it to be run on M1 Macs, and it runs quite well. And we're continually 2.5. The 2.5 update will have a lot of improvements in that area just to make it a better experience. I will say we're working towards, a full Mac experience as well, because with Catalyst, which Apple has made available. And it's something we're still working on to make sure it's a perfect experience, because it is a different experience on the desktop. And we want to make sure that we give the best experience in both places. But we do have a lot of demand for that. A lot of our users have asked, I love LumaFusion. I want it on my desktop when on the bigger screen when I'm at my desk. And so we are working towards that.
Okay. Or just go buy one of the XTR displays. And
there you go. XTR.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the key is, though, to remember that they are different. Editing on a touch device is way different than editing on a desktop. And you can't just port a desktop app to a touch interface and say, well, it has a keyboard and a mouse, or, a touchpad, so it should just work the same. It just won't feel the same. And likewise, LumaFusion doesn't feel the same on a desktop unless we go to the work to make it the right experience for a desktop. So it's not just like, oh, it runs because there's a processor or whatever. You have to do a lot of design and a lot of thinking through of things.
Yeah, I know, Terri, you and I've had a couple conversations previously about just the change in the way you approach the editing, because now you're touching your projects as opposed to using a mouse with them. And that sounds kind of esoteric, but there really is a very definite difference. And so LumaFusion is built for the touch interface, and Final Cut is built for the mouse or trackpad or whatever interface. So they both have advantages, they both have disadvantages, but they're not quite interchangeable.
Not without some work. and Apple may do that work, who knows, but I do know that like what makes the multicam feature so fun in LumaFusion is you're touching the angles with your finger. It's just the most natural thing to say, I want to see that, instead of like having knives and forks or chopsticks on your fingers going, that's what a mouse is like for me. After using LumaFusion, it's like attaching things to my fingers, and saying, oh, okay, I have to interpolate that through this other interface, which is the mouse. So I think, just editing on an iPad is more intuitive and more, it allows you to tap into your creativity more than if you add layers of interface between you and your media.
You've both been so generous with your time. There's one last thing, though, I want to make sure we get into, and that's a new program that you all have started to train folks in using LumaFusion. And I think this is really, really important. So I'm not sure who wants to tell me about it, but please tell me about it.
I would be happy to. So we wanted to make it more possible for people to have mentorship and expertise available to them, because it's not just about learning to use an app. It's not just about LumaFusion. It's about learning all those workflows, how to get into, how to shoot to make it possible to get into the iPad in a perfect way, how to manage your media, how to do a good storytelling cut, how to get more followers on your YouTube channel. So all these sort of bigger questions around mobile editing are hard to find. You have to figure it out yourself. So we reached out to 3 experts in 3 different fields who we thought would help our users learn these things. One was Glenn Mulcahy, who's the father of Mojo, and he started Mojo Fest and MojoCon. He's also worked at a variety of news stations, and he just is the father of mobile journalism. So we have him. We have Carolyn Scott, who is a content creator. She has her own channel. She's from the UK, and she's been very successful with the City Cowgirl. I think she is, because she does country music in the UK, which is very unusual. But she's also a journalist, and so she's bringing her journalistic style to the content creation, and she's a whiz at figuring out how to manage all your different channels and how to manage all the different social media places you need to go with your media, how to reformat things, how to shorten the story for certain platforms, how to tell the story differently for certain platforms. So she's an expert at those things. And then Courtney Jones is a filmmaker. He happens to be local here in the Northwest, but he's worked on a variety of films in Hollywood and has taken mobile editing under his wing and has decided that he is going to be the person who brings this to filmmaking. So these 3 people we worked with for several months now to come up with a plan of how to teach the whole workflow, including LumaFusion, in training. And all the proceeds from that go to those people. So we worked with them to create the program, but LumaTouch is just saying, okay, here's the program, here's a platform to sell it on, and go and do your stuff. So it really is, in my book, just a gift from LumaFusion to allow to support these trainers in our community, and also to support our users in being able to add more value to their own careers, add more techniques to what they're doing in the field. So this is what that program is about.
So how does one access it? How does one sign up for it? And what exactly are they going to learn, obviously, other than just how to use LumaFusion?
Oh, well, you can read all the details at, oh my goodness, where would that be right now? It's you have to go to our Facebook page or our Twitter page right now, and you'll see the advertisement for this certified training. And if you take a course from Glenn, it's focused on the whole mobile journalism workflow, all the way from shooting to editing to delivering. And if you take one from Carolyn, it's focused on content creation, content editing, reformatting for all your different channels, and delivery. And then from Courtney, how to shoot, edit, and deliver for feature film using mobile. So.
Okay. And I'll make sure I have links in the show notes to both the Twitter feed
I'll get you
and the Facebook page. Yeah, make sure the folks can find it. But that's exciting. I mean, not only are you doing the training, but you're doing training with some pretty heavy hitters there. And the fact that you aren't delivering just one size fits all kind of training, but you're doing specific disciplines, I think is very exciting. Very nice.
Yeah, I think people will be able to say that they've been certified in the use of the whole workflow. So if you're looking for a job, or if you just want to get better at that workflow so that you can go out and freelance easier, then these are great courses for that. Yeah.
We all want to get better, no question. You keep giving us these great tools. We need to learn how to use them more effectively. So the website where folks can go to learn more about everything, and of course, Facebook and Twitter, but the website is
www.luma-touch. No, it's just, sorry. It's www.lumatouch.com.
Great. You got rid of the dash.
You can put it in there, but It's easier just to remember LumaTouch.
All right. Great. Well, Chris, Terri, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. I will look forward to having you back whenever there's something else to talk about. And with you two, that could be next week. So, you're always welcome.
Thank you, Chuck. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. If you have any interest in editing your videos on your iPad, you got to go and check out LumaFusion. It is the gold standard right there, and it's only $29. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.